Hello, everyone. It's Susan Winter. Welcome to another episode of Love Advice. And I've been having a nice little chat with fantastic Bea and Gwyneth and Jordy and Mystic Magnification and Gnarly Cat and all these lovely people here in Kylie. Lovely to see you today. We are having a discussion that, as Jordy said, is difficult to navigate: cheating. What do you consider cheating? And I ask that because everybody has a different definition. The important thing for you to know is your definition given in context of the relationship that you have created. And I want to emphasize the words in big cap letters, have created, because again, it's a Susan thing. But if you don't create the design and set the template, you'll get what they give you. And then that's a lot harder to deal with. So I want to welcome all of you. It's great to have you here. I'm looking forward to your commentary. Yes, you got to hear this one. Cheating, this is a very hot topic, and it's one that I want to urge all of you to understand that the only opinion that needs to hold true is yours. There are people with very rigid thinking. There are people with very loose and permissive thinking. There are all sorts of things you're going to hear. What is cheating? Now, I'm going to go over some of the classic definitions, but the Susan definition is that there has been a violation of an understanding that we have as to the terms of our relationship. That's my definition. Someplace along the line, whether it was articulated or we failed to go over the ground rules and the rules of engagement, somebody has really stepped out of line and broken a trust of connection. So all of you have your own definitions. We had a very famous political person who had their own definition of what cheating is, and it was not oral sex. That's something else. So people have a lot of latitude. Is porn cheating? Is talking to an ex cheating? Is micro cheating cheating? Meaning being flirtatious on Instagram when you're clearly partnered? Is flirtation at the office? Hanging around, getting a little too close to somebody you know socially, stepping over the boundaries to test whether you're still desirable to another person? Is emotional cheating on a level that is worth you ending a relationship? I strongly suggest that whatever's going on here, and I'm going to be answering your questions more than I'm going to be speaking, actually, I want to remind all of you, no matter how you define cheating, enter your relationships knowing what your terms of engagement are and have the discussions before. I could have said this at the end of an hour, but I'm going to tell you now that if you don't set up the ground rules in the beginning, you get what you get, and then you have to deal with it on the fly. I know that in new relationships, it's uncomfortable. And I know that it's hard to talk about these things. And you want to be agreeable, and you want to live in the bubble, and you want to have everything be happy and wonderful. But the reality is that we live in a society with a lot of temptation and a lot of mobility. It's not like centuries ago where there were maybe 3 ladies in a farm and like 3 guys in town and a couple lovers, and that's it. I mean, we're being constantly bombarded by images and visual and people contacting us. Facebook has been, for the last 2 decades, a wonderful place that people get in touch with somebody from their past. Oh, just wanted to check in. But an otherwise married and partnered and faithful person now has found a reason to stray because somebody thinks they're amazing that they knew from high school. I know of a case like this personally. So let me say, okay, micro cheating. Let me go over some of these definitions. Okay, what is cheating to you? Do you know? Is it full-on sex? Is it kissing? Some people consider that if you're in a relationship with somebody, that it's if you kiss somebody else, you're cheating. Other people think it's only full intercourse. Mai says, in my opinion, cheating is stepping over the boundaries you've agreed to in the beginning, yes, of the relationship, and they are different for everybody. Okay, I'm not saying I'm for this. I am monogamist. That's my thing. I'm, I say, focused and intentional, and I like a quality investment. That's me. That's me. Okay, doesn't have to be you. Everybody comes in on a different level. I don't need forever. That's the difference. If forever happens, okay. I need as long as it's good for both of us. That may be unique to me, but I'm just sharing that. But the reason I prefer monogamy is this is a quality interaction. This is not some cheap little one-off. I'm giving you the best of all I've got. Love, attention, focus, support. I'm making an investment. And I would be upset if you go and take my investment and go dwiddle, someplace else. So I'm very clear on what the rules are. And I'm very clear on setting them up in the beginning as to what's okay and what isn't okay. But that's only because I've had to deal with this. Now, people in a traditional marriage, that formula, it tends to hold within that structure the implicit understanding that we are together forever. And there have been a lot of problems and a lot of divorces because as people continue to try to learn and stay together and keep the passion alive, there's always temptation. And there's always enough reason to be angry at your partner after X amount of years that you could say, oh, I deserve a little fling. I deserve to feel excited. And if you ever listen to Esther Perel, her definition of what we're trying to get out of cheating is less about sex and more about a sense of vibrancy, a life force, of feeling alive again. So it's new input. So for those of you who are in a relationship, if you haven't yet discussed the terms of engagement, I strongly suggest you do. If you have a breach of that understanding, I would try to tell your partner that the first interaction they should have is to talk to you. Because my partner was younger, because my partners generally have been younger, well, yeah, have been younger, it was necessary for me to say, look, you may at some point look at me and go, oh, no, I want something a little bit different. If you're getting there up here, tell me first. Let me work with you and see what is possible. Let me sort out. Because if I hear it the other way around, that's going to be a problem. There's no questions asked. Done. But that's me. It doesn't have to be you. There are people who are in long-standing marriages. There is a breach of trust. There is an infidelity. There's a separation. Either because they want to stay together and the partnership is more important, or it's a family, or it's financial, or at the end of the day, they just don't want to be alone. They come back together. And we have to be very careful not to put our judgment on these people. Many relationships survive infidelity. The question is why? And could we have done something different before you get to that choice? Now, if you have a partner that couldn't care less how you feel, and they're going to do what they want to do, you've got a problem. And as a matter of fact, those of you who are thinking about open relationships, it looks like it's the cure, right? But so many people, I'm going to do a special show on this. So many people think they use that word, that they're in an open relationship, and they have no idea what they're doing. Many do. But I'm working right now with a couple that have an infidelity issue in an open relationship. Why? The relationship was hidden and outside of their agreement. For good reason. There was a lot of attraction. If you don't think that jealousy exists in the human animal, and if you think that you can twist that around and try and make yourself not feel it, good luck. We are still animals. We are still territorial. and people want what's theirs. It's not easy to part with this. They want what they've invested in. You would feel the same way if suddenly you go to the bank and your money's gone. It's like, well, I wanted to take it. What do you mean? It's mine. No, it's mine. So now let me get to the different things that people fight about. You can tell me what you think about it. Flirtations at work, work crushes, emotional cheating. What about when you've got a partner that everything that you want them to come to you about, they go to somebody else? Like, what is that? We share these thoughts. What about cases of an intrusive ex? Does anybody have a relationship with somebody where the ex is always around, and your partner turns to their ex? I've had a lot of people write me through the years, because you guys know the video requests about a person who's with a partner, they're in a happy partnership, but this ex is just always there. And for whatever reason, their current partner doesn't have the courage or the boundaries to protect the primary relationship and put the ex aside. Completely different if you have children, you have to interact during a separation. I understand that. But I heard a story about, well, they have to visit the dog and the dog is lonely. And I mean, okay, I understand you split up a lot of things, kids, dogs, furniture, everything. But you know the difference between when it's in right order and when it's not. So trust your instincts. Things can look like they're agreeable on the outside, but inside something is vastly different than the way it's being reported to you. All right? And also, what about porn? If you catch your partner doing porn, for some people, that's a no-no. Other people, it's a part of their sex life. What are the rules? How offended do you feel? So much of this depends on if you started with an it's okay to be honest rule. I'm huge on this. If you're starting to see someone, even if you're in a relationship, don't be afraid of having the rules. It's okay for us to talk. We have to talk. Again, the very last sentence of this whole conversation is talk first. Set your definitions and your boundaries. Okay? Now, enough about me. You all know you've got questions here. What about, okay, mystic manifestation. I'm going to just go straight into your questions. What about a partner that cheats with the opposite sex of their partner? Okay, wait a minute. Okay. All right, with the opposite sex of their partner. I've heard of people being more lenient because, well, that's what they want. I can't provide them with that, but it's cheating. Again, it depends on the conversation of what they constructed in the beginning. Now, much of this that's going on is you're going to be sideswiped. You're going to think, you're going to imagine that you put all these things into place. You think from your first couple of conversations over the first couple glasses of wine or the first pillow talk that you've sorted it out, and you're going to find something that makes you wonder. This is where you, is it cheating if you're with somebody of the opposite sex, but not of the same sex? Is it cheating if you're with somebody of the same sex, but not of the opposite sex? And why, if this cheating is going on, is it not included in the entire dynamic of both parties? I mean, I'm trying to think. I like one-on-one. Okay, it's hard for me to. I don't want ADD. I mean, I can't have a bunch of people around me. I wouldn't know who to pay attention to. But what I'm saying is that if something's going on and somebody's with another person, no matter what, how they identify that sexual interaction, you've got an issue, because now you've got to have a discussion over where they want to experience intimacy and how you work it out with them. That's it. Again, cheating means that there has been a breach, that somebody has gone beyond the boundaries of what you all have established are the edges of your relationship. And the reason that we establish where the edges of our relationship are, we have to. Don't think you can go in there and everything's going to be okay. You've got to do this, not to be a hard ass, but to let people know where your comfort level ends. In relationships, we do a lot of compromising. We do a lot of working toward coming to a mutual agreement. Some places you're not going to want to compromise that much. You have very clear thoughts. You have to know how to design the container that safely protects the integrity of your emotional investment. Too much porous activity will erode the unity of the group, the couple, unless it is an already established part of the dynamic. I'm also working with a throuple, or a triad, I should say. So the third person coming in is not a toy. They're not like a sexual tidbit. They're a part of this group. And then I ask the functional questions like, do they have a bedroom in your home? Do you, yes, you go on vacations together. Are you always together? Are they allowed to date? You have to think of the functionality when you're adding new people, and you have to think of how you want your relationship to function. Then you have virtual reality. Then you have people in, especially, I don't know why, but it seems very popular in Japan that a lot of people have dolls that, because of being socially uncomfortable, they prefer a very lifelike being that they are committed to. And that's their love object. It's going to get more and more strange as time passes. We are going to have to be considering over and over again, how open-minded are we? How open are our relationships? And where are the edges of our own boundaries? At what point do you feel like this other thing has affected you, diminished you, hurt you? Those are the questions we need to ask. All right? Everyone looks at the opposite sex. There's nothing you can do about that. You can't stop someone from cheating on you. All right. I won't date anyone who watches porn. After the college course I took on internet addiction and how porn affects the brain, it is interesting. One of the top TED Talks, of the early 2000s, I think, was Make Love, Not Porn. And what was her name? Cindy. God, I'm drawing a blank on it. But she started by the first line out of her mouth is, "I blank young men." And she talks about being in porn, but she said, what you see in porn that they do to women, trust me, we don't want that in our personal lives. And even the porn stars will say that. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of female directors. And so it is skewed toward an appetite of aggression and hostility in general. And the barometer, the thing about exposure is, whether it's a drug or it's anything, is that we kind of hit this utility factor where once we hit enough, it's enough. And then the only way to make it interesting is to push the boundary and make that new. So I do understand how this can negatively impact intimacy, in that intimacy is about connection. And sometimes there's a confusion that goes on between how do people negotiate. I mean, there are many kids that I guess they get sex education in school these days. I don't think they've outlawed that, but they get their education on how to treat each other by watching porn. And again, porn is the kind of thing that when you first see it, it's like startling. The longer you look at it, that's not startling. So you go to the next level of what catches your attention. So it's always upping the ante. Let's see what this is. 3 months. Hi, Nathusa. Hi, you're a member of 3 months. Thank you to my YouTube fans and family and followers. Personally, I would not date a lustful person because to me, love does not equal lust. and one has to graduate to know what love is. This is the kind of a soul connection and merging with another person is on a whole nother level. And it's not to say that that can't be passionate and fiery and dynamic, because it can be. And it can have a lot of animal lust. But for a person who expresses this emotion, you need the safety and security of knowing that there is a strong mutual connection, that it's really connected to you. There's a funny thing about sexuality, and I don't talk about this very much because it's not my area of expertise. But I know in casual dating, I watched all during the early 2000s. I would write late at night, and I would then walk my dog when I had my sled dog. And it would be like 2 a.m. I'd see these girls drunk coming home, and they could barely stand up, and these guys escorting them didn't know where they lived. And I see them coming into my lobby, and I'm thinking, oh my God. And I'm thinking, what are they telling these girls to do? And where are the boundaries around all this? And unfortunately, nobody has been able to really adequately pare this back and give people an education on what is correct for you. You know, so much of the impulse was that we're supposed to do this, or you're supposed to love that, or that you might have one partner that in the early days of dating you makes it a condition that you've got to be exploring all this stuff. And I need somebody really adventurous. And when it is my opinion that when women feel safe in their connection with their partner, male or female, that when there's true connection and real safety, they can be the wildest freak, because they've got this person who is by their side, in tune with them, and always conscious of what's happening and cares about how they are responding to it. But to do it conversely, to push some kind of impression upon what somebody must do because it's what people are doing and you're supposed to like it because I've seen it in porn, and without providing a safety net for them, then that's stressful. That's a performance. And that's the thing, that level of freedom, those of you who are in a committed relationship, those of you who have a really powerful connection with your partner, the level of sexual freedom that you can get in a partner that you know you trust is extraordinary. That's going to blow. Everybody's like, oh, I want a freak in bed. Did you earn it? Did you earn it? I'm not saying that people can't be that free within themselves, that it doesn't matter. That does exist. But I would imagine for most of the people that follow this channel, they would understand innately that it is in the safety, security, and comfort of knowing that your partner cares for you, that you have a freedom together to explore things that you wouldn't do with anybody else because they're your mate. They're like this. I hope that helps. Okay, let's see what else do we have here. Let's see. Okay, you're all talking to each other. My first boyfriend at 18 didn't want us to be open as he didn't agree with it. After I ended our relationship, I found out he had cheated on me for a year. Wow. Did myself a favor long term. Jordy, thanks for that. Let's see what else. Safety and connection are amazing feelings. It's so rare to see in a relationship. Hence, it is very important to be selective and patient for the right one. Yes, yes. The old saying, that old saying, gentle in the streets, but freaky in the sheets. Okay, people don't always cheat because of lust. This is very true. Very true. Okay, let's see. Some people have insecurities or can feel trapped in a relationship they're in. Doesn't make it right, but cheating is not black and white. I totally agree. We oftentimes have a very rigid view. I mean, listen, if you cheat, you cheat. That's a thing, right? If I take a black marker and I put it on the wall, the black mark is there. Okay, I can't say it didn't happen. It has been said that in long-term relationships, the reason oftentimes that men cheat, not just for variety, because variety is important because of the visual animal, but lack of appreciation. And this happens for women too. And this is independent of how they express their sexuality. That oftentimes it is because somebody makes that person feel special. And somebody awakens that, ooh, that's a great feeling. My partner doesn't look at me that way. My partner yaks at me and asks me, when am I getting the garage door fixed? Or when am I picking up the kids? Doesn't thank me for cooking a meal, barely ever acknowledges me. So as couples grow apart, it's easier for somebody to come along and be complimentary or appreciative, and for that to culminate in a physical expression because it feels good. This is why I am really insistent upon people constantly, when your mate does something right, thank them. When they do something they didn't have to do, let them know you appreciate them. Positive reinforcement, and always reinforcing the good makes the good grow. And we want to starve the things that are bad. Yes, you have to talk about things that hurt you. Yes, you have to establish boundaries. But it's really important to be able to acknowledge the good and make your partner feel valuable and wanted. And to be honest, sometimes that's hard in a long-standing relationship. After years of resentment, you look at them and you go, meh. And then you see somebody walking on the street, you're like, oh man, I'd love a taste of that. This is normal. This is normal. It's what we do with it. That's the second part. It would take a lustful person to turn sex as a way out of a relationship, something or other. I couldn't get the rest of it. Okay, Gnarly Cat is a family member. I had a private chat with my family members because I appreciate them so much. They are so dedicated. Hi, Susan. What is your opinion on that old saying, once a cheater, always a cheater? It's there. Generally speaking, I acknowledge it as it is a red flag. It doesn't mean it will always be that way because we don't know the context of the previous situations. However, the ability to break trust is a mental construct and a philosophical construct. So in that way, I do heed it because what it means is something deeper to me. It means that person found a hall pass for themselves, guilt-wise, emotionally, psychologically, because they wanted to. They wanted to do something that felt good to them. So screw you. Sorry. Too bad. Yeah, but I had to. So they have found a way to alter the agreement to work in their favor. Once you have that mentality, it's kind of, I think we have a basic core disposition. We will become better variations of ourselves, hopefully, but there's a tendency to do what I want to do. It's like this selfish gene. Now, I understand, believe me, I've had so many experiences, people coming at me in my life, like you all have. But I remember a very plausible argument from an older man I met in business. Lovely, lovely Barb and my friend Jan and I, we all went out with him when we were in Cannes. We hung out with him. Lovely, lovely man. Huge, huge, huge in the music industry. His wife will not have sex with him. She's either disabled to do it. There's some physical problem with her. And he wanted an official lover. And he's very open about this. Doesn't want to leave her, loves her, takes care of her, but she can't. That's not my job. I understand it. So that's kind of like he's got a thing. So he's honest, but he's auditioning people for, would you like this position? This is all I can give you. Absolutely devoted to his wife, but she doesn't do sex. And he's like, hey, I need sex. I guess he wanted the sex and the girlfriend experience because otherwise he would have gone to a prostitute. But that was his thing. And it's a separate, so he had a physical need that was denied within the structure of a monogamous marriage. He had a problem. I don't think she was opposed to it. But, were I to have an affair with a married man, I would if the wife and all the kids and the extended family and I sat down to lunch and they all said, Susan, not going to hurt any of us. Go for it. I've had enough of him. We're staying together because we don't want to divide up our assets. I would consider it. But I'd have to have her agreement and the kids. So that's a pretty hard agreement to get. So basically it's a no-go zone. Let's see. Is OnlyFans cheating affecting relationships? It depends on if it affects yours. There's something going on there. I always want to know, what is this individual? What do they signify for you as far as your fantasy? Are you tuning into muscle girls, muscle guys? Are you tuning into like a certain genre? Like I want MILFs, I want Asian, I want boy on boy. What am I looking for? Can that be integrated into a relationship so that it doesn't have to be secluded? It's hard to hear the truth. It is hard to hear the truth oftentimes of what your partner wants. But the healthiest relationships sexually have the ability to talk about these things. And you may be appalled at some point, but you got to know the why underneath the why. Because as weird as things look, there's always a reason for it. There's some kind of sexual imprint underneath. And what we don't talk about will be hidden. Remember, the reason people have hid this for years from the marriage construct is because what they want, they wouldn't dare ask their partner to do, and they wouldn't want to do with their partner because they put their partner in another category of parent and mate and the outside reputation. So there are a lot of other things going on. Let me see. What's the best way to talk about cheating if you want to salvage the relationship? Do you get mad? Okay, wait. Oh, this was so good. Wait. Do you get mad? Ask what they need if they cheated. Okay, so Julian, many people stay in their relationship when they discover a partner has cheated. There are normally economic reasons, children, maybe you're of an age where you're like, God, I don't have that many other options. What in the world happened? You're going to have a ton of emotions. I'm not going to say you don't get mad, but I can tell you from somebody who's a communication specialist, if you're screaming at them, you're not going to get answers. So the best way to have an argument or a difficult conversation is to try to get yourself exceedingly clear on what it is you need to ask. But you need to ask the why underneath the action. Ask for the why underneath the action. It's rarely the action itself, it's the why underneath. And let's hope they know. For example, so-and-so made me feel special. So-and-so looked at me a certain way that you haven't looked at me in years. It was different. I like redheads. It was a fantasy. Whatever. They did something. They had a body part that I like a lot. It helps to know the why. It sometimes takes away from the sting a little bit because you realize it. So we always think that cheating means I'm not enough. I mean, that's the first take on it. Why am I not enough? Why do you need to see that? If I've got a guy and he's looking at little Latinas, like I'm hardly that. Really, why do you need that? Because it's different. So we want to know, to what extent is this affecting the unity of the relationship? And to what extent is this providing stability to allow a person to have a known, I want to say like a known secret life, but it's not that. It's like to have their private fantasies, but they're held within the context of a relationship. So many times people don't want to throw away the relationship, even though there has been infidelity. Other times it's like there's infidelity that's, nothing to talk about. Done, over. So again, it depends on, we're entering a different time period. We've got to think about these things. We can't walk blindly into a marriage and think, oh, this is never going to happen because we love each other. We've got to really, really think this through, and we've got to prepare for what may happen and have a clear idea of what we are willing to be open to, what we are not willing to be open to, and under what conditions. I have always asked my partners, well, I've chosen partners in general that aren't like that. I have chosen men in general that have a disposition where their lust does not overtake. They've got more social training or social repression. I don't know what it is, but they have more of a disposition that would not be in right order. And so that they just have an innate understanding of how to proceed. But that's been my choice. So if you are in a fluid situation with somebody, at least examine where your boundaries are. There's what you want, and then there's how would I feel if? And if this were to happen, what conditions would I put on? Don't think you can't negotiate. You can. These are all conversations. Let me see. I wonder if I think I might have missed people here. If you have any questions, let me know. Everyone, I want to make sure I'm not missing anybody's question here. Okay. Do you find that people who stay in a relationship after cheating mostly do the time investment, not their partner? Wait a minute. Do you find that people who stay in a relationship after cheating mostly due to the time investment, not the partner? This is in marriages. Yes, I would say that I oftentimes hear this phrase. My much younger boyfriend, the father was cheating on the mother chronically, and her response was always, "Why throw away 20 years of a marriage?" I thought, I would throw away that kind of marriage in a heartbeat, but that's me. And I had financial resources to make that choice. So, yes, oftentimes we have this construct that we don't throw away a relationship. We don't necessarily like the partner, but we have more sanctity around this idea of a relationship. So my question is, I'm not against the sanctity of a relationship, but is that relationship day in and day out serving you? Or are you just there because you're lazy and tired, or maybe this is your partner and most people don't want to go out looking again. And you know what's terrifying? Now with the way the dating world is, they're like, at least I got somebody. My friend stayed with her guy after he cheated on her and left her for a year because he drives the car and he's somebody to go to the movies with. And they were older and she didn't want to look again. And we live in a couple's world. There are a lot of conditions. Is the person supporting you financially? Are they supporting an aging parent? I had a lady that I knew in the early 2000s who hated her husband, hated him. I said, how can you hate him? He pays for your lifestyle. He supports you. Aren't you appreciative of that? She said, I hate him. I just need him for my mother. My mother's in a nursing home. And I said, well, he's sure getting a raw end of the deal. Why do you do? I mean, I thought it was horrible. I'm sure he did things. I'm just hearing her side of it, but I'm skewing more toward him. I thought that was horrible. You know, it's so important to know ourselves. It's so important to have our own sense of independence. For all of you out there, when you love yourself, when you have your own financial resources, when you can be alone with yourself because you like yourself and you can provide for yourself, 90% of the bullshit that people put you through, you're never going to have to go through because you will know this I don't want. I don't care how cute you are. I don't care how hot you are in bed. I'm not doing this and I don't need to. Love yourself, have your own money. If you can do that, so much of the nonsense that you go through, because I do think people are more afraid to break the partnership model apart. Not easy to be single. It's not easy to be single at the holidays either. I just did a recent interview on that, Newsweek or something. I can't remember. I do so many things now. I love it, but I do a lot of them. But we're in a couple's world. I mean, you invite people for the holidays, and there's always, oh, what did we do with Aunt Martha? She doesn't have anybody, or our neighbor Karen, she's all alone, and we should invite her. No, we don't want to invite her because she'll be a sad sack. Yeah, but we should invite her. She's all, so you get the pity invitation, like, oh my God, you poor thing, you can't be alone. So it's a couple's world. It is hard for people to leave a relationship, even if they're unhappy. Have your own money, love yourself, and like being with yourself, and you'll have a lot better choices. I think codependency might be a component. Yep. In staying with a cheater, if that isn't part of the agreement. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That and or financial stability. Absolutely. Narcissists justify their cheating no matter what. Narcissists justify everything because it's about them. It's my world. You're here for me. Okay, let's see, what else do we have? Oh, well, for better or worse, that doesn't mean anything anymore. For many people, it does. Don't lose hope. There are many people, when they make that sacred contract, they have made it for real. You got to know the difference. I fear that many people get married because they think they should. They think it's time. They think all their friends are getting married. They think I need to move ahead and have a family. They may think if I don't take this one shot with this one person who wants me, I may never have kids. People marry, we'd like to think they marry because they've found their one. Oftentimes they find a one who's willing. That's it. It isn't always the way that it's told to us. It's our job to try to create richness, meaning, and belonging in every interaction and in every experience that we carve out for ourselves. Relationships, even though I deal with them, aren't the be-all and end-all of everything. Single by choice is a valid construct. Not because you're scared, not because you don't want to be hurt, because you really like yourself and your life is okay. So I want everybody to really be truthful with yourself on what you want. And it doesn't matter. Say it to your partner. They may say, oh my God, you're sick, or oh my God, that's so restrictive, or whatever. You'll find the person that agrees with you, and you'll find the lifestyle that agrees with you. And the lifestyle that you take at one juncture in your 20s may be different in your 30s, might be different in your 60s. I don't know. But you've got to be truthful with yourself and establish an okay communication system with whatever partner you have or prospective partners. And these are difficult conversations for those that have been in long-term relationships because they don't want to rock the boat. I used to say to my partners, it's not what you tell me that's going to hurt me. It's the lies you lead me to believe as truth that'll rip my soul apart. So don't do it. You don't have to. I'd rather hear what I don't want to hear. The grass is greener often creates cheating scenarios. Yeah, because we don't spend enough time to know the downside. We just get the upside. Absolutely. I agree, Susan. Thank you, Annie. I love the fact that you're talking to each other. Let me see. Thanks for letting you know. Guys can be flaky. I think you've got a date, Gnarly Cat. Hey, Susan. Hugs been a long time. Shady Bougie. Haven't seen you in a long time. Hello. So anybody else have questions here? How to have the conversations? I have a date on Tuesday, my first one in months. Oh, that's Gnarly Cat. Gnarly Cat's so hot. I saw Gnarly Cat. We had a chat. Trauma bonding too. Yes. Oh, Galactic Woman. Love you. Oh, you've been around for a long time. I've really enjoyed seeing your commentary here. If your partner starts intense interactions secretly, it brings in new energies to that dynamic energetics. Absolutely. Both parties need to give consent for a third person to join their monogamous melded energies. Absolutely. Now, that's another thing. That's just me. But I can sense focus and a lack of focus. And I can sense with me and not with me. You can be physically with me, but not with me. And I can feel that. So yeah, that's why, but I'm very honest about it. I'm very honest about what I need in the beginning, and I'm very honest about what I would tolerate. And I'm very honest about how, if a change needed to occur, how that would happen. And I'm very explicit about the rules around that, because there are things that would bother me, there are things that wouldn't bother me. Uh, I am able to see that there's a difference between sex and love, but I must tell you that deep in my heart of hearts, it would erode my affection. It would. I would think less of the person, because it's not as though they're tied to me for a lifetime. It's that they have a choice. Be here, and be here, or don't be here and go be where you want to be. It's just an easy call. It's just easier. Let's see. Indeed, the dating environment today has barely any standards. Hence, I'm very happy flying solo. Okay, let's see. Anybody else? Any questions about this? It's not too late at all. Mystic, going into a marriage or equally committed relationship when you've learned more about life is a plus, I think. You know, we have lovely people who check in on this channel, and they've been following me for a long time, and they're partnered. And although I have been called a relationship expert, the reason I call myself that is the Today Show gave me that title like 22 years ago. And I looked at it and went, oh, I guess, okay, because I'd written the book, Older Women, Younger Men. So but at any rate, most relationship experts, we deal with relationships. But to amend myself to the conversations that are happening today, I have found myself in the last 10 years focusing more on dating, how to get into a relationship, how to create a relationship, how to keep it going, how to go through the initial new relationship phases. And yet we have lovely people who come back here over and over again, who found their love and come back to contribute and say, hey, it can happen. I'm married. I'm a modern marriage. We've got conversations going on. We're going to be growing together, and you factor growth into your committed relationship. This is why in the course I'm teaching now, how to make love work for you, I teach people the whole a la carte system of where you take the menu of what you want in a traditional relationship, and you add and subtract things that you don't want. But what you're doing is creating an expansive design. We have to create relationships that are allowed to flex and grow, or our relationships will become stagnant and dead. And that's the time that something else looks very exciting. So as humans, we need to keep expanding and growing. One thing is to be open in our conversations, decide where the edges are of the parameter that you're going to function within, okay? I had a friend who really struggled for a year afterwards. Looking at feet. I've had so many offers for photographs of my feet. Yeah, I turned them down. Maybe that was kind of stupid. You want to see my feet? Oh my gosh. Okay. Dating is what scares me, so I really appreciate that you talk about it, Susan. So, if dating scares you, I urge you, if the idea of what's out there and what you see as possible is just like, oh my God, this is appalling, people have gone mad, I don't want any part of it, it's okay. It's not you. Think of what you want. Get very clear on what you want to experience, the feelings you want to experience. Match the feelings you want to experience with how those actions might look in the real world. And to anyone that you speak to that is a prospective mate, give them a juicy, seductive, visual example of how great this beautiful world is to you. I'm really good with language, But oftentimes I will use my language not in terms of definitions of words like relationship or partnership. I will describe how that feels. Waking up on a Sunday morning, turning in the sheets with my skin naked against my lover, and the warmth, and the giggling, and the sex, and the playfulness, and the coffee in bed, and the playing with the dog, or whatever. So I'll make it visceral. That's a good pull in. People, oh, I don't like a committed relationship. What do you not like about it? I like knowing that I have somebody who's got my back. World can be a rough place. It's wonderful to know that somebody cares, you care for them, and they care for you. You walk outside or you even open up your iPhone, you can get beaten up by the stuff you see. The comparison of, oh my God, how in the world, all of you that are millennials, bravo if you've survived this without some kind of mental damage. My God, Instagram is beautiful, but the bullshit on there does everybody have a 7-figure business? Does everybody ride in a private jet and everybody is at a 5-star hotel? I know they stand outside those things or they walk inside pretending that they're going to buy a meal and have somebody take a photo. Do you know how disturbing that is to the rest of us to look at this and think, where did you creatures come from? Women with bodies with waists like this and breasts like this and their faces with no wrinkles. Oh my God in heaven, where do these creatures come from? It's just like, if I were a kid growing up in, I don't know, Iowa, I don't know what I'd do. Where would I turn? So, to know that you come back to your home or you meet up with a human being that values everything that you are on the inside and sees what you see that you think is precious about yourself, you're telling me that that's not worth something? That's worth everything. Everything. Okay, enough of a rant. Susan rant. Okay, who was this? Oh, Nathuza. Okay, $5. Thank you, my dear. Why did Mrs. Claus cheat on Santa? You'd think it's because she's a ho, but really he wasn't present enough. Sorry, I'm in a playful mood. I love that. This is the first joke I've ever had on this show. Thank you so much. We love this. This is beautiful. Thank you. Oh my God, I love this. Anybody have any questions for me? Cece, okay. Hi, Susan. I went out on a date with a guy recently. We had some differences and I decided not to see him again. I regret it now. How should I tell him I'd like to try again? First of all, why are you just dismissing your initial differences? Are you just lonely now and you can't find somebody else? This makes me worry. If initially there was enough stuff that came in as input and your radar went, what are the differences? Are they value, philosophical, sexual boundaries? What are the differences here? And why, with time apart, do you think like you should go back in and amend what you feel about yourself? If you can say, oh no, Susan, I think I just was pissy that day. I didn't like the way he held his fork. I think he's a good guy and I was in a bad mood. Then see him again. Just say, hey, I'd love to see you. I really did enjoy talking to you. Maybe I didn't give you the right impression that I did. But I would ask you first to look at what your first initial impression was and don't dismiss it just because time has passed, okay? All right. Carrie, $4.99. Thank you for all your good advice. Carrie, thank you for being here. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for being part of this conversation. Jordy Delight, £2. Thank you. Thank you. They are here with us today and they are magnificent. Magnificent. Good evening. Yes, Jordy, didn't link my question. Whoops. What would be your advice to someone returning to dating after being cheated on in their last relationship and learning how to trust and be open to someone again? Okay, beautiful question, Jordy. Thank you so much. So this is an issue for you, and this is something that needs to be held and presented in a way as to why it's important for you. I think oftentimes when we have something to share with a prospective partner, there's a wound that we got in the past and we want to relay it. But what I try to do is talk about it in the positive as to how it eroded your ability to love, and to how it's so much richer. Yeah, I'd like you to describe the benefit of what you want the design to be in. Do you know what I'm saying? So I know that that fidelity is very important. So let's start. How am I going to say this? I want this to be so perfect for you. I'd start by having the conversation of, I'm getting to know you, and I really like you. And I want to know, is it okay? I'd like to establish ground rules of absolute honesty, good, bad, indifferent, that we can be just telling each other how we truly feel, because I find that that is the most rewarding interchange. I'm using very specific verbiage here so we don't scare them off. And then say, so I love fidelity. And I was cheated on in my last relationship. And it hurt me. It hurt me so much because it was a breach of trust. And I think the beautiful thing about being in a relationship is that you can trust. You walk out in the world, you don't know who's telling you the truth. You don't know who's conning you. You don't know who wants your money. You don't know who wants advancement just by knowing of you. You're a celebrity. How do you know who loves you for you? So it's like, to know that you've got a person that you can trust is so valuable to me. So that's one of my foundational hallmarks of a relationship design that I hold sacred because of all the value that it offers, not just me, but my partner. That bond of trust is supremely important, and it augments my love. It makes me love somebody even more. So that kind of a conversation is a way to wrap, I've got a need, I need monogamy, can't cheat on me, but have it in a very elegant container that also contains the foundation of honesty. Here's my condition, the boundary, and why it's so fantastic. We got to sell the idea of why we want what we want. We've got to show our partner, prospective partner, the benefit of what this thing is. So that, I think, is the trick. I hope that helps you, Jordy. Let me see. I've got to go back here because I see there's more stuff. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Let's see. Let's see. I hope that helps. Infidelity was my biggest fear after I've encountered it and chose myself and self-love. Okay, it made me stronger. Our fears reduce in size when we work through them via experience or mental exercise. Brilliant. You all got the job. If I go off duty, you're just going to take over. The Susan Winter channel, you're excellent. This episode was like gold, Susan. Thank you so much. Annie Walker, you are welcome so much. Let's see. Trust is precious and it is earned over time. Be patient with yourself. Yep. I've been on the other side, and I think there's a bit unfair for this guy if you want to rekindle and you're not 100% sure. So that must be an internal conversation. Hey, Susan, I went on a first date with a guy and he lied about shutting down his dating app. I don't get a bad vibe from him, but I worry that since he's already breached my trust, he'll do it again. Okay. All right. Good conversation to have. Let's take this example and expand it. You went on one date. Nobody is required to shut down apps, but did he volunteer with, oh, you're so wonderful, you know, I've just shut down my app, I've met you. Now that's a lie, so that's a no-go. If you asked him, so what do you think about continuing on dating, or if he implied that he was going to be exclusive and you discovered he's not, that's definitely a no-go. But at the same time, I don't think after one meeting, you should have to shut down an app. I want to know why he volunteered that information, or did you ask it? If I knew the context, I could give you a better example of the answer. I'm not sure it's 100% deal breaker. I might be, if you like him, I might call him on it and see how he handles it. Because how he handles this one error is going to tell you a lot about his disposition moving forward. It may give you a lot of clarity. I'm just curious as to why you told me you'd shut down your dating apps, because I liked you. And what I liked was I thought your honesty and you had a forthright character. So I'm just curious as to why you lied about that. Or why you, let's say it this way. That's provocative verbiage. Why you chose to state an untruth. Gotta be careful sometimes. It's like legalese. Let me see here. Unicorn snowflake. He did volunteer. I never met. So he volunteered to tell you that, so he doesn't tell the truth. He volunteered to tell you that he closed his dating app, and after he met you, then he opened it up again. Did he ask for a second date? If you've never heard back from him again, he dated you. Sorry, he dated you and went, okay, I'm going to go back in and keep looking. To help Unicorn, I will say, when I went out with a guy, we had a discussion about being exclusive, and that included removing apps. If he said he did and he didn't, question it. Okay, yep, now we've got it. Okay, I think that, Rahul, hi, I got cheated on and emotionally abused by my ex. My current date dismissed it as normal relationship stuff. Unsure if I should go out with them again. Well, this was a big deal to you, and the fact that they dismissed it as being just part and parcel of the way things are today would concern me. We all have our issues. And if it's a big one, like trust in a relationship, being abused, being cheated on, being sexually violated, having financial infidelity, something like really not cool, having somebody misrepresent themselves to you completely, like they were married and you never knew it, you have every right to express to the next person that this happened. And that you're looking for, you don't want to repeat that experience. I just wish people would be more honest. If they'd be more honest, there wouldn't be so much lying and cheating. People lie about things because they don't want the confrontation. They don't want to be held responsible for the decision they just want to make for themselves. And we have to take responsibility for the choices we make, and there will be repercussions. It's just the way it is. You can't get away from that in life. Approach women with the same interests so you have a topic of discussion. Okay, you're getting back to the person who wants to know how to approach women. Okay, what a brilliant rounding off statement, Susan. 1,000,000%, 100,000%. I hope that works for you. I want a man I can be proud of and grow with. Fantastic. I look for people I can admire. If I can't admire you, my attraction dies immediately. You can be fun, you can be playful. There are a lot of guys in my sphere that are fun and playful, and they're just fun. They're really successful. I think what's really sexy is an incredibly powerful businessman that's playful like a child. I don't know that I'd want them for a partner because they play a little too much, but that's always exciting. Somebody who could be rigid and they're not, but somebody I can admire, somebody I can look at and think, I am so proud of the human being in my life, of what they stand for, who they are, their contribution to the world. And I realize that's a tall order. That's the thing that works for me. And to have somebody know that you revere them in that way because they deserve it, that's what I'm talking about. The trust, the preciousness of that relationship. We give people our heart our time, our life, but we also want to be very clear as to how people are allowed to use these extremely precious gifts. It is never out of your hands, no matter what you feel. You may make a hard choice that really costs you. I remember my friend telling me she couldn't afford to divorce her husband. She was the one with the money. I knew she didn't want to. Her greater desire is she didn't want to be alone. And at one point, after I'd heard her say this, like for the 15th time, I said, just admit it and don't feel ashamed of it. That's really the truth. I would chew my leg off to get out of a leg hole trap if I wanted to. And I'd part with a ton of money to dump somebody I didn't want to be with. But that's me. That's me. As an only child, I've been fortunate to live alone most of my life. So you got to like being alone. As a matter of fact, I like it a lot. I love my privacy because I'm busy with a lot of people all day long with really intimate interactions emotionally. So I get pretty filled up. And then I kiss Nika like crazy. So, when I'm not doing that, I find myself more with a compulsion to be in a relationship. So maybe if I take a big break, the next thing you'll see me doing is suddenly being partnered. Who knows? Let's see. So sorry, Susan, off topic. But do you watch shows like 90 Day Fiancé or Love is Blind? Yes, I have. I don't. What are your favorite shows? Just wondering because they're fun. And okay. So first of all, I'm not a fan of reality shows. I watch them only because I might be asked in an interview. What I thought was cool about Love is Blind is that it did try to get us to see how when we exclude our image of how they have to look, how people can find each other through resonance. And I wish that's how we did our radar. We are humans. We're going to move toward what we visually find attractive. And we are going to try to jam what we want inside there because we love the package. I know that. I know that about myself. I'm attracted to pretty. I'm attracted to young. I'm attracted to good looking. I know that, but I constantly reorient my mind. I constantly reorient my mind and erase everything I know, gender, age, color, everything, to say, this is what I want. This is what I want to feel. This is what I want to experience. 90 Day Fiancé, I think that's more of a gimmick. The financial implications of doing that are disastrous. I don't know. Those are people that just want to get married. I mean, I don't know anybody who wants to get married that much that they would just marry somebody in 90 days. My parents got married in 90 days, but that was a whole nother story. Let's see. The worst part of, okay, you're all talking to each other. Okay, I love the fact that you're all helping each other. Is there anything else you want to ask me before we end the show? We've gone a little bit over, and I want Bea and Gwyneth to have a lovely evening. Anything else I can do for you? Let me wrap this up with thanking those of you who have contributed to the Super Chat. Those of you who are members here, I can see that you're a member because your name's in color. Those of you who are helping other people, because I love the people that come to this channel because I've never dumbed down any of my information because I've always wanted people who were self-aware, had a spiritual and psychological underpinning already, and are very tuned up and are just like that last piece. It's like that last piece of the puzzle, or just refining it, buffing it down a little bit. Everybody here is so evolved, so loving, so self-aware, so positive, and so beautiful. And I appreciate all of you so much, and I appreciate your helping each other. I know that I can trust you, and I've got Gwyneth watching in case anybody gets out of line. So again, about infidelity. Infidelity and cheating is whenever there is an action of any sort that has violated the boundaries of our established agreement for what is us. We do this. We do that. This is what we do. And these are the boundaries that protect the sanctity of our union. They're our comfort zone. They show us how far we can go. Because at some point, if we go beyond them, there's a breach, and now there will be pain, and there'll be the loss of trust. And when we lose the trust in our partner, when we lose the fact that they are our partner, then we begin to question the validity of our relationship. So at all times, ask yourself, as the world continues to change, as you grow, ask yourself what you need to feel safe and secure. What do you need to love completely and totally? What do you need that excites you and expands you, yet at the same time offers you safety and security? Where are the edges? What is permissible? What is not? And if something comes up, make sure you tell your partner, look, something may come up. Before there's an action taken, I beg you, let's agree right now, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how ill-timed, let's have the conversation about what's happening, and let's discuss together the best ways to handle it. And I have always said to my partners, I promise, no matter what you tell me, I'm making this pledge to you that I will be rational. You may have to give me a second, but I will be rational and calm. You won't be bad or wrong. I will appreciate more you're telling me the truth. But if you don't, all hell is going to happen. Trust me on that one. Tell me the truth. Let me know what the story is. Let me have some input, and let us think our way through this situation and then make the decisions that need to be made. Both of us knowing what's going to happen. That's all I ask. And that's hard, because now we've got to trust each other enough to be honest. But that's what trust is. Okay? Everybody, thank you so much for this. Thank you. And thank you for the Santa Claus joke, the Mrs. Claus, ho, 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 because he wasn't present. Thank you, everyone. Bea, Gwyneth, Gnarly Cat, everybody who's contributed here. I hope you have a lovely day. Jordy, thank you so much. You're all lovely. And Gnarly Cat, we hope you have a fantastic date. Everybody, we will see you here next week. And take care. Sending you lots of love and happy dating. Thank you, and happy relationships. Bye-bye now. Thank you.